Commander Day stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station, watching the blue planet turn slowly below. 30 years had passed since the Altari came to Earth. 30 years since they promised to keep humanity safe from the dangerous galaxy beyond their solar system. The Altari looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin and large black eyes. They spoke directly into people's minds without moving their lips. When they first arrived, they seemed kind and wise. They told the leaders of Earth that many evil species lived among the stars. These bad aliens would hurt humans if they found Earth alone and unprotected. "We will be your shield," the Altari leader had said to the United Nations. "We will keep you safe. In return, you will share your food, your metals, and your creative ideas with us." Most people on Earth were happy about this deal. The Altari had amazing technology. They could travel faster than light between stars. Their weapons could destroy mountains. Their computers were smarter than anything humans had ever built. With friends like these, Earth would be safe forever. But Dai never trusted them completely. He was a soldier before the Altari came. He had fought in wars between human nations. He knew how people acted when they wanted something from you. The Altari smiled too much. They promised too many good things. They asked for too much control over human lives. "Commander," said Dr. Nari as she walked into the room. She was a smart woman who studied alien life forms for the Galactic Confederation. The Confederation was like a big club of alien species that the Altari had introduced Earth to. "I need to show you something important." Day turned to look at her. Nari's face was pale and worried. She carried a data pad in her shaking hands. "What is it?" Day asked. "My deep space sensors picked up something at the edge of our solar system," Nari said. "Big energy readings. Very big. The Altari told our government it was just a routine patrol, but..." She handed him the data pad. Day looked at the numbers and pictures on the screen. He was a soldier, not a scientist, but he could read basic sensor data. What he saw made his blood turn cold. "This is not a patrol," he said quietly. "This is an invasion fleet." Nari nodded. "Over 2,000 ships. All of them are military vessels. They belong to the Vok Empire." Day knew about the Vok from military briefings. They were a species of large reptile-like aliens who conquered other worlds for slaves. They were cruel and violent. They took most of the people from planets they captured and forced them to work until they died. The rest they killed as examples to scare others. "Where are the Altari defense ships?" Dai asked. "That is the problem," Nari said. "They are all pulling back to the far side of the solar system. They say they need to reposition for better defense, but it looks like they are running away," Day finished. Captain Wu entered the observation deck. He was the leader of Earth's small space fleet. The Altari had allowed humans to keep only a few ships for local patrol duties. Nothing with serious weapons, nothing that could travel to other star systems. "Commander Day," Wu said. "I just got a strange message from Ambassador Hana on the Altari home station." She sounds scared. Ambassador Hana was Earth's representative to the Galactic Confederation. She lived on the big Altari space station that orbited Earth. She was supposed to speak for all humans in galactic politics. "What did she say?" Day asked. "She said the Altari High Council called an emergency meeting. They would not let her attend. When she asked why, they told her it was not her business. They said humans would understand everything soon enough." Day felt his stomach drop. 30 years of military experience told him what this meant. The Altari were preparing to abandon Earth. Maybe they had been planning this all along. "We need to contact Admiral Bin," Day said. Admiral Bin was an old Earth Navy officer who had been forced to retire when the Altari came. The aliens said Earth no longer needed large military forces. They said professional soldiers like Bin were dangerous to galactic peace, but Bin never really retired. He just went underground. "Sir," Wu said carefully, "Admiral Bin was labeled a terrorist by the Galactic Confederation. If we do not contact him, we might all be dead soon," Day said. Dr. Nari was still studying her sensor readings. "Commander, there is something else. Something the Altari never told us about humans." "What do you mean?" I have been studying the biology of different species in the Confederation, she said. Every intelligent species we know about evolved from prey animals, herbivores who ate plants and ran away from predators. Even the Altari evolved from small animals that hid in trees. So what? Wu asked. Humans are different, Nari continued. Humans evolved from hunters, from predators. We are the only intelligent species in the known galaxy that comes from a line of meat-eating pack hunters. They thought about this. Are you saying that makes us special somehow? I am saying it makes us dangerous, Nari replied. Every other species learned to survive by hiding, by running away, by avoiding fights. Humans learned to survive by hunting, together by fighting, by killing their enemies. A new alarm started beeping on the communication console. Wu ran to check it. Incoming message from the Vok fleet, he said. They are broadcasting to the entire solar system. The main screen lit up with the image of a huge reptilian creature. Its scales were dark green and its eyes were yellow with black pupils. Sharp teeth filled its wide mouth. This was a Vok commander. People of Earth, the Vok said in broken human language. Your protectors have made a deal with us. We will take your world now. 70% of you will become our slaves. 20% will be killed to teach the others to obey. 10% will be kept for breeding more humans. Do not fight. It will only make your deaths more painful. The message ended. The three humans stood in shocked silence. They made a deal, Day said slowly. The Altari sold us out. Dr. Nari checked her sensors again. The Altari defense stations around Earth just powered down their shields. All of them. Captain, Wu sat down heavily in a chair. We have been betrayed. After 30 years of trust, they betrayed us. But Commander Day was not thinking about betrayal anymore. He was thinking about something else Dr. Nari had said. Humans were the galaxy's only predators. Every other species ran from fights. But humans did not run. Humans hunted. Captain Wu, he said, send a coded message to Admiral Bin. Tell him it is time for Protocol Lazarus. Protocol Lazarus? Wu asked. I thought that was just a story. No, Day replied. Some of us never stopped preparing for this day. We knew this might happen. We have been getting ready for 30 years. He looked out at Earth again. It looked peaceful from space. Green and blue and beautiful. But Day knew something the aliens did not understand. Earth was not a planet of peaceful prey animals. It was a planet of predators. And predators did not go quietly into slavery. The Vok were about to learn what humans were really like when someone threatened their home. The Vok invasion fleet moved toward Earth like a dark cloud blocking out the stars. Admiral Bin received Commander Day's message in his hidden base deep inside the Rocky Mountains. For 30 years, he had been waiting for this moment. He had hoped it would never come, but he had prepared for it anyway. All units, this is Admiral Bin. He spoke into his secure communication system. Protocol Lazarus is now active. Repeat, Protocol Lazarus is active. Across Earth, hidden soldiers received the message. These were men and women who had never stopped being warriors, even when the Altari told them to become farmers and teachers, and shopkeepers instead. They had lived normal lives on the surface, but underground they had been training and preparing. Colonel Sue was fixing her truck outside a small town in Korea when the message came through her hidden radio. She looked like a simple mechanic, but she had once commanded special forces. For 30 years, she had been secretly building weapon caches and training civilian volunteers. She smiled grimly and reached for the hidden panel in her workshop. Doctor, one was teaching engineering at Seoul University when his secure phone buzzed. His students thought he was just a boring professor, but he had spent decades reverse engineering Altari technology. In his secret laboratory beneath the university, he had built weapons that combined human military thinking with alien science. Weapons the galaxy had never seen before. General Nam was supposed to be retired, but he still lived near Earth's ceremonial military headquarters. The Altari had let humans keep a small, weak army for parades and ceremonies. What they did not know was that this ceremonial army was actually a network of trained officers ready to coordinate a real war. Ambassador Hana sat in her quarters on the Altari orbital station, staring at a message on her screen. It was from the Altari High Council, and it made her feel sick to read it. Representative of Earth, the message said. Your species will now serve a greater purpose. The Vok Empire has agreed to spare other worlds in exchange for Earth. Your creativity and work capacity will benefit the galaxy. This is the price of peace among the stars. Hana threw the datapad across the room. She had trusted the Altari. She had believed they were friends. She had spent years learning their language and customs, thinking she was helping to build friendship between species. Now she knew it had all been a lie. She activated her emergency transmitter and sent a message to Earth. This is Ambassador Hana to Earth Command. The Altari have betrayed us. They made a deal with the Vok before they even met. Earth was always meant to be a gift to keep the Vok happy. I repeat, this was always the plan. On Earth, the Vok ships began landing. They came down like metal meteors, crushing buildings and burning forests where they hit the ground. Massive reptilian soldiers poured out of the ships, expecting to find scared humans running away. Instead, they found something they had never seen before in all their years of conquest. The humans fought back. In Seoul, Colonel Su's hidden weapons caches opened up. Ordinary people who looked like shopkeepers and office workers suddenly had military-grade weapons in their hands. But these were not just human weapons. Dr. Wan had modified them with Altari technology. They fired energy beams that could punch through Vok armor like paper. The Vok commander who landed outside the city was confused. His intelligence report said humans were a peaceful species, with only a small ceremonial army. But the creatures shooting at his troops moved like trained soldiers. They worked together like a pack of hunters. They used tactics his species had never encountered. Command, the Vok commander spoke into his radio. The humans are not behaving as expected. They are not surrendering. They are not running. They are fighting back with organized resistance. Impossible, came the reply from the fleet. Humans are prey animals. All intelligent species are prey animals. They will break and scatter when we show them our strength. But the Vok commander watched human civilians transform into warriors before his eyes. Children who looked too young to fight were carrying ammunition to adult soldiers. Old people were throwing explosive devices from windows. Even humans who were wounded kept fighting, until they could not move anymore. Dr. Nari was right. Humans were different from every other species in the galaxy. While other intelligent races had evolved from animals that ran away from danger, humans had evolved from predators that ran toward it. Captain Jin emerged from his hiding place beneath the Pacific Ocean. For 30 years, he had been living in an underwater base training a secret army of space marines. The Altari thought they had eliminated Earth's military capabilities, but they had only eliminated the visible ones. Jin's Marines had been preparing for space combat against alien forces. They had studied every known alien species. They had practiced boarding actions on captured alien ships. They had trained with weapons that were designed to work in zero gravity and alien atmospheres. Marines, Jin announced to his hidden fleet of assault ships, time to show these lizards what humans do to things that threaten our home. Lieutenant A climbed into the cockpit of her fighter craft. It looked like a small cargo ship to any alien sensors, but Dr. Wan's team had filled it with weapons and armor. It was faster and more deadly than anything in the official Earth Defense Fleet. The Vok had studied human military history, but they had misunderstood what they learned. They saw the wars between human nations and thought humans were chaotic and disorganized. They did not realize that all those wars had been training. Every human conflict had taught the species better ways to fight and kill. Sergeant Hyun led his urban warfare unit through the streets of Busan. The Vok troops were confused by human tactics. When they surrounded a building full of humans, the humans did not surrender. Instead, they turned the building into a trap. Explosives hidden in the walls killed Vok soldiers. Snipers fired from unexpected angles. Ordinary objects became weapons. The Vok were used to fighting species that tried to minimize casualties and preserve their cities. Humans did not care about preserving anything. They would burn their own buildings to kill invaders. They would sacrifice their own lives to take enemies with them. Major Kang's Special Forces teams had been infiltrating alien communities throughout the galaxy for years, posing as human diplomats and traitors. When Protocol Lazarus activated, these sleeper agents revealed themselves. They began sabotaging alien infrastructure and causing panic on Vox supply worlds. The Altari watched the battle from their retreating ships and felt something they had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of the Vox, but fear of the humans they had betrayed. Altari minds were telepathic, and they could sense the emotions of other species. What they sensed from human minds during combat was terrifying. Other species thought about survival. During fights, they thought about escape and protection. Human minds during battle were focused on one thing: killing the enemy. Not just defeating them or driving them away, but completely destroying them. The Altari had made a terrible mistake. They thought they were trading away a species of creative but weak prey animals. Instead, they had unleashed the galaxy's apex, predators, and made them angry. Admiral Bin coordinated the global defense from his mountain base. Reports came in from around the world. Humans were not just surviving the Vox invasion, they were winning. In some places, human forces were actually advancing against the alien troops. "Sir," his aide reported, "the Vox are requesting reinforcements. They say human resistance is stronger than expected." Bin smiled coldly. Expected by who? They never bothered to really study what humans are capable of. They just assumed we would be like every other species they conquered. General Nam appeared on Bin's communication screen from the official military headquarters. "Admiral, I have good news and bad news." "Give me both," Bin replied. "The good news is that our hidden fleet is ready to launch. Dr. Wan's weapons are working perfectly. The bad news is that the Vox fleet in space is much larger than we expected. We might not be able to defeat them with what we have on Earth." Bin nodded. "Then it is time for Phase 2. Contact our people throughout the galaxy. Tell them the war has begun." Around the galaxy, humans who had seemed like peaceful traders, diplomats, and researchers suddenly became something else. They became an army that had been hiding in plain sight for 30 years, waiting for the day when humanity would need them. The Altari thought they had made a deal to sacrifice one world for galactic peace. Instead, they had started a war that would change everything. Captain Jin's Space Marines launched from hidden bases across Earth's solar system. The Vox fleet commanders watched in shock as what appeared to be cargo ships and civilian vessels suddenly revealed themselves as warships. But these were not like any warships the galaxy had ever seen. Where alien species built their war vessels for long-range, clean battles, humans had built theirs for something else entirely. Human ships were designed to get close to the enemy and stay there. They had thick armor and powerful engines that let them ram into alien vessels. They carried weapons that were meant to cause fear as much as destruction. Lieutenant A piloted her fighter straight at a Vox destroyer. The alien ship tried to shoot her down with precise energy beams, but A did not fly in the neat, predictable patterns that other species used. She moved like a wild animal, unpredictable and dangerous. When her ship took damage, she did not retreat to repair it. Instead, she used the damaged parts as weapons. "This is Lightning Squad," she reported over the radio. "I'm going to ram my fighter into their engine core. When it explodes, it should take out their whole power system." Other species would have called this insane. Humans called it tactics. The Vox fleet commander received reports from his ships that made no sense to him. Human pilots were using their own vessels as missiles. Human boarding parties were not trying to capture alien ships. They were setting off explosives inside them to destroy everything. Human fighters were attacking supply ships and civilian transports, targets that military honor said should be left alone. "These humans fight without honor," the Vox commander told his officers. "They target non-military ships. They sacrifice themselves to hurt us. They do not follow the rules of civilized warfare." What the Vox did not understand was that humans had never learned civilized warfare. For millions of years, humans had fought for survival against everything that threatened them. There were no rules in survival, only winning or dying. On Earth, Sergeant Hyun's urban warfare units showed the Vox what human cities really were. The aliens had expected to find centers of commerce and culture. Instead, They found that every human settlement was also a fortress. Hyun led his team through the Seoul subway tunnels, which had been secretly modified over 30 years. What looked like a transportation system was actually a network of bunkers and weapon storage areas. VOC troops trying to move through the city found themselves attacked from underground, from rooftops, and from buildings they thought were empty. The humans know every street, every building, every hiding place, a VOC squad leader reported. They appear and disappear like ghosts. Our sensors cannot track them properly. The VOC had conquered many worlds, but they had always fought against species that tried to preserve their cities and protect their civilians. Humans did the opposite. They turned their own cities into traps. They used their own buildings as weapons. They made every street a battlefield. Major Kang's special forces demonstrated something the galaxy had never seen. Humans could adapt to alien environments faster than aliens could adapt to human tactics. Within days, Kang's teams were using captured VOC equipment better than the VOC themselves used it. Intelligence report, Kang transmitted to Admiral Bin. VOC weapons are designed for intimidation and control, not maximum efficiency. I've modified their energy rifles to fire at twice the power setting. The VOC never thought to try this because it makes the weapons more dangerous to use. Humans don't care about dangerous, we care about effective. Dr. Wan's engineering teams were reverse engineering VOC technology in real time during the battle. But where other species would have tried to copy alien designs exactly, humans improved them. They made VOC shields stronger, but more unstable. They turned VOC communication systems into weapons that could scramble alien minds. They took VOC transport technology and used it to build better human weapons. The psychological impact on the VOC forces was devastating. They were a species that had conquered through fear and superior technology. But humans were not afraid of them, and human modifications made VOC technology work against its creators. Colonel Su coordinated resistance cells across Asia. Her teams included everyone from teenagers to grandparents, all fighting with the same intensity. The VOC could not understand how human civilians could transform into effective soldiers so quickly. Status report from Sector 7. Su's radio crackled. We've taken a VOC supply depot, found something interesting in their computers. What did you find? Su asked. Intelligence files on human psychology. The VOC studied us for years before the invasion, but they got everything wrong. They thought our wars made us weak and divided. They didn't realize our wars made us the best fighters in the galaxy. Admiral Bin received reports from around the solar system. The hidden human fleet was not just holding its own against the VOC, it was winning. Human ships that should have been destroyed were still fighting. Human crews that should have surrendered were boarding alien vessels and taking them over from the inside. Captain Wu's patrol fleet had revealed its true nature. The small, harmless ships that the Altari had permitted humans to keep were actually test beds for advanced human military technology. When they shed their disguises, they became vessels that could match any VOC warship. But the real shock came from outside the solar system. Human agents throughout the galaxy were activating simultaneously. Humans who had posed as peaceful traders on alien worlds for decades suddenly became military coordinators. They turned human civilian populations on distant planets into instant armies. The Altari homeworld received its first human attack 36 hours after the invasion began. The blue-skinned telepaths had thought their world was safe, protected by distance and defensive systems. They discovered that humans had been living among them for years, studying their weaknesses and preparing for this moment. Emergency transmission from Altari Prime, Admiral Bin's communications officer reported. They're requesting immediate ceasefire negotiations. Bin laughed coldly. Tell them we'll negotiate after we finish explaining to them what betrayal costs. The VOC Empire had built its power on a simple principle. Overwhelming force applied against species that would eventually surrender to preserve their lives and cultures. But humans were not like other species. The more pressure applied to them, the more dangerous they became. General Nam coordinated with resistance leaders across the galaxy. Phoenix base to all units, he transmitted on the secret human network. The enemy expected us to break when they showed their strength. Instead, we're showing them ours. Every human settlement that falls takes a dozen alien ships with it. Every human who dies takes 10 enemies along. We're not fighting to surrender. We're fighting to win. Dr. Nari's research stations throughout the solar system provided crucial intelligence. Her study of alien psychology was paying off in ways she had never expected. I'm sending updated tactical assessments to all combat units, she announced. VOC military doctrine is based on quick conquest, followed by intimidation. They've never fought a species that gets stronger as the battle goes on. The turning point came when Captain Jin's Marines successfully boarded and captured a VOC command ship. But instead of just taking the vessel, they did something that shocked the entire alien fleet. They used the ship's communication systems to broadcast captured VOC battle plans to every human force in the galaxy. More importantly, they broadcast something else. Footage of VOC commanders panicking as they realized their invasion was failing. They sent images of VOC soldiers retreating. From human positions, they transmitted recordings of VOC officers admitting that humans were more dangerous than they had ever imagined. This psychological warfare broke something in the alien alliance. Species throughout the galaxy who had supported the VOC because they seemed strong now saw them as weak. The careful balance of fear and respect that held the VOC empire together began to crumble. But Admiral Bin knew this was just the beginning. The VOC invasion had failed, but the real war was about to start. Humanity had revealed its true nature to the galaxy, and now they would have to fight everyone who saw them as a threat. All units. Bin transmitted across the human network. Phase 1 is complete. We've stopped the invasion and shown them what we can do in defense. Now we begin Phase 2. What's Phase 2, sir? Asked General Nam. Bin's smile was cold and predatory. We show them what we can do on the attack. Admiral Rowe emerged from the shadows beyond Pluto with a fleet that should not have existed. For 30 years, humans had been secretly building ships in the cold darkness of the outer solar system. Not just military vessels, but something far more terrifying. Colony ships filled with human warriors ready to spread across the galaxy. The VOC fleet that had come to conquer Earth now found itself surrounded. Behind them was Earth, where human defenders had turned every city into a fortress. Ahead of them was Admiral Rowe's fleet, ships designed not for defense but for conquest. Attention VOC forces. Admiral Rowe broadcast to the alien fleet. You came, here to take our world and enslave our people. Now you will learn what humans do to those who threaten our home. The VOC commander had fought many battles across many worlds. He had seen species fight desperately to defend their homes, then surrender when defeat became certain. But the human fleet was not positioning for defense. They were positioning for attack, even though they were outnumbered. Captain Mun's special forces had spent 30 years infiltrating alien worlds throughout the galaxy. They had posed as human diplomats, traders, and scientists. In reality, they were military intelligence officers studying alien weaknesses and preparing for war. Strike teams in position on 17 VOC worlds, Mun reported to Admiral Rowe. We're not just hitting military targets. We're attacking their infrastructure, their food supplies, their civilian transportation networks, everything they need to support a war effort. Dr. Yan's Psychological Warfare Division had been studying alien minds for decades. Where the Altari used their telepathy to manipulate emotions, humans used their understanding of psychology to create terror. Broadcasting on all VOC frequencies, Dr. Yan announced. I'm sending them footage of their soldiers retreating from Earth. I'm showing them images of their prisoners who chose to join our forces rather than face human interrogation techniques. I'm transmitting recordings of VOC civilians fleeing their own worlds because they're afraid humans are coming. The psychological impact was immediate. The VOC Empire had maintained control through fear and superior technology. But now their own people were more afraid of humans than they were of their own government. Other alien species throughout the galaxy watched the broadcasts with growing horror. The humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. And they were winning using methods that violated every principle of civilized warfare. Admiral Rowe's fleet did not engage in the long-range energy battles that other species preferred. Instead, human ships closed distance rapidly and began boarding actions. But these were not attempts to capture vessels. They were raids designed to spread terror throughout the enemy fleet. Human boarding parties would take control of alien Ships extract all useful information from their computers, then set the vessels to self-destruct in ways that would cause maximum psychological impact on nearby ships. They made sure other aliens could hear the final communications from doomed vessels, filled with panic and desperation. Status report from Combat Group 7, Admiral Rowe's tactical officer announced. They've successfully boarded and destroyed 12 VOC vessels. The enemy fleet is beginning to break formation. But the real shock came from reports across the galaxy. Human sleeper agents were not just sabotaging VOC military assets, they were dismantling the entire alien alliance that supported the Empire. Captain Munn's intelligence network had identified every alien species that had provided supplies, safe harbor, or political support to the VOC invasion. Now they were all paying the price. Human agents turned alien populations against their own governments. They created civil wars on worlds that had been stable for centuries. They spread rumors and evidence that caused alien species to blame each other for the human threat. The Altari Confederation found itself under attack from multiple directions. Human infiltrators had spent decades learning Altari telepathic techniques and turning them into weapons. Where Altari minds were used to the gentle thoughts of peaceful species, human minds during psychological combat were like screaming storms of controlled violence. Emergency session of the Galactic Council, reported Ambassador June, who had replaced the betrayed Ambassador Hana. 17 species are demanding that the humans be stopped. 23 species are requesting immediate peace negotiations. 8 species are asking to join the human alliance. General Park coordinated humanity's grand strategy from a command center that had been hidden beneath the Sahara Desert for 3 decades. The room was filled with displays showing human operations across dozens of star systems. Phase 2 is proceeding ahead of schedule, Park announced to the assembled human military leadership. We're not just defending Earth anymore, we're actively conquering alien territory and turning their own populations against them. The VOC Empire began to fracture as member species realized that supporting the invasion had made them targets for human revenge. Worlds that had provided ships to the VOC fleet found human strike teams appearing in their cities. Species that had offered logistical support discovered that their space lanes were now patrolled by human vessels that attacked without warning. Dr. Wan's engineering teams had accomplished something that shocked even human military leaders. They had not just reverse-engineered alien technology, they had improved it to levels that surpassed its original creators. Tactical report, Dr. Wan announced. Our modified VOC weapons are 40% more effective than the originals. Our improved Altari shields can withstand twice the energy load. Our enhanced alien communication systems are being used to coordinate attacks across the entire galaxy simultaneously. But the most terrifying discovery was what Dr. Nari had learned about human biology compared to alien physiology. Her research proved that humans were not just different from other species. They were specifically evolved for warfare in ways that no other intelligent race could match. Intelligence briefing for all combat commanders, Dr. Nari transmitted. Human reaction times are faster than any known alien species. Human endurance in combat exceeds alien capabilities by an average of 300%. Human ability to function while injured or under stress is unmatched in galactic records. She continued. Most importantly, human pack-hunting instincts create coordination in battle that alien species cannot counter. Where they fight as individuals trying to survive, humans fight as collective organisms trying to destroy threats to the group. The Altari made a desperate attempt to use their telepathic abilities to control human behavior, but this backfired catastrophically. Human minds during warfare were so intense and violent that telepathic contact with them caused permanent psychological damage to Altari operators. Medical emergency on Altari Prime, reported one of Captain Munn's agents. Their telepathic command center tried to mentally dominate our assault teams. Instead, contact with human combat consciousness put 17 Altari telepaths into permanent, catatonic states. Admiral Rowe's fleet had completed its encirclement of the VOC invasion force. The alien ships that had come to conquer Earth were now trapped between human forces that had no intention of offering surrender terms. Final message to VOC Fleet Command, Admiral Rowe broadcast. You came here to enslave 70% of humanity. Kill 20% and keep 10% for breeding. We're offering you different terms. Surrender unconditionally, and we'll let 10% of you live as prisoners. The other 90% will learn what happens to species that threaten human worlds. The Vok commander realized he was facing something unprecedented in galactic history. Every species his empire had conquered had eventually negotiated for terms that preserved some of their population and culture. Humans were not offering terms. They were offering complete destruction or total submission. Director Yu's intelligence network provided the final pieces of humanity's psychological victory. Her agents throughout the galaxy transmitted a simple message to every alien world. This is what happens to species that betray humanity. This is what happens to governments that threaten human worlds. This is what happens to empires that try to enslave human people. The message was accompanied by footage of Vok worlds burning, Altari populations fleeing their own planets, and alien military forces surrendering en masse rather than face human assault teams. Within days, the careful political balance that had maintained galactic civilization for thousands of years completely collapsed. Species that had supported the anti-human alliance were desperately trying to switch sides. Governments that had remained neutral were sending peace envoys to Earth. But the most shocking development was that some alien species were actually volunteering to serve under human command. They had seen what humans could accomplish in warfare and decided they wanted to be on the winning side rather than risk becoming targets. Strategic assessment, General Park announced. The alien alliance is finished. We've broken their military power, their political unity, and their psychological confidence. The galaxy now understands that humans are not just another species. We're the apex predators of known space. Admiral Rowe prepared for the final phase of the battle. The Vok invasion fleet was surrounded and broken. Their homeworlds were under attack. Their allies had abandoned them. But humans were not interested in just winning this war. 6 months after the Vok invasion began, their empire surrendered unconditionally. The reptilian species that had once struck fear across dozens of worlds now begged for mercy from the humans they had tried to enslave. President Tay stood before the newly constructed Galactic Assembly on Earth, looking out at representatives from hundreds of alien species. Where once the Assembly had met on neutral Altari space stations, it now convened in Geneva, under human authority. The old galactic order is finished, President Tay announced in a calm voice that somehow made every alien representative feel cold. For thousands of years, you operated under the assumption that some species had the right to dominate others, that strong civilizations could prey on weak ones, that deals could be made to sacrifice innocent worlds for political convenience. She paused, letting her words sink in. You were wrong. Admiral Song commanded the largest military fleet in galactic history. Human ships now patrolled space lanes that had been controlled by alien powers for millennia. But these were not just defensive patrols. They were the mobile headquarters of an expanding human empire. Fleet status report, Admiral Song announced to the Assembly. Human naval bases are now operational in 47 star systems. Our exploration fleets have identified over 200 worlds suitable for human colonization. Our military academies are training officers from 17 alien species who have requested to serve under human command. The transformation of galactic power had happened with shocking speed. Where it had once taken alien species centuries to expand their influence, humans had reorganized the entire galaxy in less than a year. Ambassador Jun had replaced the entire diplomatic framework that had governed interstellar relations. The old system of complex treaties and careful balances of power was gone, replaced by a simple principle: humanity would decide what was acceptable behavior among the stars. New galactic law is now in effect, Ambassador Jun announced. Wars of conquest are prohibited, except when humans determine they are necessary for galactic stability. Slavery is banned throughout known space, because humans will decide who deserves freedom. Telepathic manipulation of other species is a criminal offense, because it doesn't work on human minds anyway. The Vok homeworld had been renamed New Sol, and was now populated primarily by human colonists. The surviving Vok population had been relocated to reservation worlds where they lived under human supervision. They were not mistreated, but they were never allowed to forget who had conquered them. Director Yu's intelligence network ensured that humanity would never again be caught unprepared. Human agents were embedded in every alien government, monitoring for threats and opportunities. Every alien communication network carried human surveillance systems. Every alien world hosted human cultural exchange programs that were actually military reconnaissance operations. Intelligence summary. Director Yu reported to the Human Leadership Council. We have complete information on the military capabilities of every known species. We have identified the locations of all alien research facilities working on advanced weapons. We have psychological profiles on every major political leader in the galaxy. But the most profound change was in how alien species understood their place in the universe. For thousands of years, they had believed that intelligence naturally led to peaceful cooperation. The discovery that humans were apex predators had shattered this fundamental assumption about the nature of consciousness. Dr. Nari's research had become required reading in every alien educational system. Her studies proved conclusively that humans were evolutionarily designed for warfare in ways that no other intelligent species could match. This knowledge had fundamentally altered how aliens thought about conflict and power. Biological assessment update, Dr. Nari announced. Comparative studies show that human reflexes, endurance, stress tolerance, and coordination in group combat exceed every known alien species by significant margins. More importantly, human psychological adaptation to warfare appears to be unlimited. Where other species break under prolonged conflict, humans become more effective. The Altari Confederation had dissolved entirely. Their telepathic abilities, once considered their greatest strength, had become a liability in a galaxy where humans were the dominant power. Altari minds could not safely make contact with human consciousness during any kind of conflict or negotiation. Former Altari territories have been reorganized, reported General Park. 17 worlds have requested direct human administration. 23 worlds have established human-supervised governments. The remaining Altari populations have been relocated to worlds specifically chosen to minimize their telepathic influence on galactic affairs. Captain Moon's special forces had become the template for a new kind of military organization. Human soldiers now served as advisors, trainers, and commanders for alien military units throughout the galaxy. But this was not traditional peacekeeping. It was the establishment of human supremacy through military mentorship. Training report from the Outer Rim, Captain Moon announced. We've successfully integrated alien personnel into human military doctrine. Species that once fought as individuals now operate as coordinated units. Former enemies are working together under human command to maintain galactic order. The economic transformation was equally dramatic. Trade routes that had operated for thousands of years were now controlled by human commercial interests. Alien species competed for the right to do business with human colonies. Resources that had once been distributed according to political alliances were now allocated based on loyalty to human authority. Admiral Rowe's exploration fleets had discovered something that shocked even human leaders. The galaxy was much larger and more populated than anyone had realized. Previous alien governments had deliberately limited exploration and contact to maintain control over their territories. Humans were now making contact with species that had been isolated for millennia. Exploration update, Admiral Rowe reported. We've established contact with 47 previously unknown intelligent species. 31 have immediately requested human protection from traditional galactic powers. 12 have asked to join human colonies as junior partners. 4 have chosen to remain isolated, but have agreed to human monitoring of their borders. The most remarkable change was in how alien children were educated. Human concepts of competition, individual achievement, and aggressive problem-solving were being taught alongside traditional alien values of cooperation and harmony. A new generation of aliens was growing up with fundamentally different ideas about power and conflict. President Tay concluded her address to the Galactic Assembly with words that would be remembered for generations. We did not ask to become the guardians of galactic civilization. You forced this role upon us when you betrayed our trust and threatened our world, but we accept the responsibility." She looked directly at the camera that was broadcasting her words to every inhabited world in the galaxy. "From this day forward, humanity will protect peaceful species from those who would harm them. We will prevent wars of conquest and the enslavement of innocent populations. We will maintain the peace of the galaxy." Her voice became harder. "But make no mistake, we will do this on our terms, using our methods, according to our judgment of what serves the greater good. The galaxy has learned what happens to those who threaten human worlds. We hope you never forget that lesson." The final scene of humanity's rise to galactic dominance was simple but profound. On worlds throughout the galaxy, human children were being born and raised alongside alien populations. These children grew up knowing that they were members of the species that had conquered the stars. They learned their history, how the Altari had betrayed Earth's trust, how the Vok had tried to enslave humanity, and how their parents had responded by becoming the galaxy's new rulers. They learned that humans were different from other species, designed by evolution to be hunters and warriors rather than prey. But most importantly, they learned that with great power came great responsibility. They were taught that humans must protect weaker species, maintain galactic peace, and ensure that the mistakes of the old order would never be repeated. The galaxy had promised to protect Earth. Instead, humanity had become the protector of the galaxy, whether other species wanted it or not. As President Tay often said in her speeches, they thought they were adopting a pet. Instead, they brought a wolf into the fold. Now the wolf leads the pack and the pack follows human law. The age of human galactic dominance had begun, and there was no force in known space capable of challenging it. The galaxy had learned to live under human protection, and the humans had learned to carry the burden of being the apex predators among the stars. For the first time in galactic history, there was true peace among the worlds, not because species had learned to cooperate voluntarily, but because humanity had the power to enforce cooperation and the will to use that power when necessary. The experiment in human-led galactic civilization had begun, and only time would tell what kind of galaxy would emerge under the guidance of humanity's fierce and protective nature.